Hello everyone, it's the Final Damp Boss, and in this video I've been thinking about this quite a while actually, and I wanted to talk about the secret levels to a good mentor. Okay, and level one is the mentor that level one is the idea, so the mentor that actually introduce you to the money making opportunity. And I would say there's quite a lot of people in this sort of genre of opportunities, right? So they're the ones that introduce you to the money making opportunity, and there's quite a lot of them. That is the most regular mentor, right? And the next mentor is someone which you can find that encompasses level one, but also level two, which is they help you monetize the idea. And this is where we actually get into territory where that mentor is actually quite valuable, because not only are they introducing you to the idea, but they're showing you a clear path on how to monetize the idea. And you'll be surprised, there's not many mentors that are actually doing level one and level two. Most, and I'd say about 90% of people on the internet are doing level one, right? They're just introducing you to the opportunity. Whereas level two and level one together, that is a good mentor. Not only are they introducing you to the idea, but they're helping you monetize it. So they're not just telling you the opportunity exists, they're actually showing you how to get started and make money from it. And then the biggest questions I believe you should have when you're choosing or deciding to work with someone is, how did they get into this industry and why did they get into this industry? And the reason why I say that is because how did they get into this industry? And it's important because of the fact that a lot of people hide the real truth on how they got into a certain industry. They hide certain connections that they had either through family or friends or industry connections that they already curated years and years in advance. And the reason being why a lot of people online do not talk about the how is because of the fact that they want this to seem achievable to absolutely everyone, their mum, their dad, and their dog, right? And the reality is it isn't. Most opportunities that are being peddled online are not ready. Not all of those ideas are going to become successful regardless of whose hands they're in. Even if you put in hours of work, some things just won't work. And the reason being is due to the fact of industry connections and network prior to them getting into that industry. And that's a big key difference. For example, in damp proofing, I'm quite open and honest about how I got into it, right? And I started with a homeless plasterer in a broken down van, right? And I'm proud of how I started because of the fact that it shows if I could do it, you can do it, right? But there is a lot of people online that don't show how they got into that industry, and they have no intentions of saying how because of the fact it's going to affect the amount of people that join, right? And another important question is why? Why did they start teaching you the idea and wanting you to monetize the idea? Why would they do that, right? And that's a good question to have, because you need to really understand why. Because logically, in a business sense, it doesn't make sense, right? They have a way of making money, right? And now they're going online to go and teach other people how to make it. Something doesn't quite add up. So you need to figure out why they're doing that. For example, for me, when I got into damp proofing in 2023, I was young, still quite immature. So I've almost matured with my business, and I've got to a stage where, I can actually provide value to the internet. It coincides with the sort of life that I'm trying to build. and I can teach anyone from a laptop. I can open my laptop and teach anyone from anywhere, and I can be anywhere in the world, right? And that's why I like it. And also, I've realized it actually motivates me to build my business and take further risks because I'm teaching someone, right? So if I'm going to be in an authoritative figure, right, and see myself as almost like a black belt of damp proofing, and I'm teaching all of these white belts, there's going to come a phase where it's like, I'm going to have to keep pushing up. I'm going to have to keep curating the path higher and higher up, because I don't want there to become a stage where I'm like, I can't teach you nothing anymore. I've showed you the idea, I've showed you how to monetize it, but other than this, that's it from me. And I like the fact that when I teach, it's actually pushing me to become more successful in my damp proofing business, right? And the fact that I've actually started this business relatively young, I've matured with it, and you know, people's priorities change in life, and that's my why as such. You need to find the why. If you're not looking at me as a potential to work with, you'll need to figure out why is that mentor teaching, right? And a lot don't say the brutal honesty of it is, when you create a big business, you have a big shit. Like you have a big dog, it has a big shit, right? It needs more food. And a lot of business owners or mentors in the space are not quite transparent on what they want to teach you, because like I said, not everyone wants a big business. You know, some people just want to replace their 9-to-5 salary and that's it. And that's a big difference, you know. Not everyone wants the glamorous life of a massive business, because a massive business comes with massive overheads, massive risk, you know. And, you know, a real good mentor should be open and honest with their potential client and what are they actually trying to achieve from this. And also saying like, not one answer is not the best answer, right? But a lot do not say that, because, you know, they're trying to paint the narrative that everything's perfect, which is not. You know, we all have to improve. We're humans, you know, and we shouldn't ever glamorize anyone online. And, you know, some people paint certain narratives online, and I think people are becoming wiser to that, and they want to pick someone that aligns really and truly with their beliefs as well, not just looking up, like idolizing someone from the internet. That is definitely something that you shouldn't be doing. You should never idolize anyone, and don't believe all the gold and the screaming and the shouting, because sometimes that hides a deeper thing going on, you know. So yeah, why? Where else was I going with this? And then yeah, the reason why I love damp proofing is the fact that I know specifically that you can get into this industry without knowing anyone. Because when someone gets damp in their house, they need the problem solved, they go straight onto the internet, and you get the opportunity to win the job. Whereas in other industries, you know, when you're starting from nothing, as I know, before I had a damp proofing business, I had a general construction business, and it was tough, man. You're not getting a big refurb, okay? I don't believe in that. You're not going to start a construction business and start doing extensions the next day, right? Because when people are investing that type of money into their asset, they're not going with some random person on the internet. In my personal opinion, most of the time they're going to someone who's renowned in the local area, that has years and years, tens of years, 20, 30, 40, 50 years of track record of building good extensions and loft conversions. And that's why I love damp proofing, because you can just get started right away and start battling for the jobs, and they're profitable. And that's the difference. They're actually very profitable on the internet. And so yeah, recapping on everything, on a good mentor is introduce you to the idea. Most mentors do that. Level 2, monetizing the idea. This is rare to get level 1 and level 2 in the same person. And then you need to understand how they got into that industry and why they're teaching. Okay, big questions to ask. And I'm only doing this videos because of the fact that I've been there and done that now. Like I've learned so much from people on the internet. I've also got scammed by people on the internet. I've lost serious money putting trust into people that I should have never put trust into the internet. And this is now my go-to way of excluding or saying no to certain offers on the internet, because the internet gives you great things. At the end of the day, it's what introduced me to business, right? But however, you need to cut through the bullshit, and that is the most difficult thing to do, is to cut through that bullshit. And when you know and sniff out bullshit, and it's hard to sniff out bullshit on the internet these days, and that's why I made this video. So yeah, the idea, monetize the idea. How, why, how did they get into the industry? Did they have a bucket load of money before getting into this industry? Did they have some secret connections that you don't know about? And this is, as much as I laugh at it, this is all valid things that will disadvantage you if you do actually choose this person. And most importantly, does that person actually inspire you, right? Do they have a backstory? Do they answer these questions transparently? That should then either inspire you to work with them or make you say, see you later, mate. Right? And and then level 3, I would say, is, can they actually build a business? Because you need to almost stack up this person, right? I'm 26, right? There's other people in the space of construction who, maybe younger, maybe older, mid-30s, mid-40s, but can they actually build a business? Because, if you've been chucking shit at a wall for 15, 20, 30 years, at the end of the day, it's a trade. It's gonna make money. You're gonna build connections sooner rather than later. So, I personally prefer when my mentor or someone that's teaching me hasn't been in the industry for God knows how many years, because of the fact that shows a level of quick progress, which I think people genuinely want to see these days, because that means you're adding something new to the marketplace, right? Because like I said, any plumber or electrician, scaffolder, roofer, builder can be an industry, and after 10, 20, 30 years, they are gonna, build a contact book up, they're gonna have customers, right? People are going to know them because they've existed on the earth for so long, right? And it's not like a secret, tradespeople do get paid very well, but what differentiates someone from quick progress in a construction business is the fact that they had to be adding something new to the market to be able to progress that quickly, and I think that's a big thing. All right. And another thing is a CRM, and I see this word be thrown about so much through this education space in construction. And I would say it's a good question to ask is to this possible mentor is, when did you get your CRM, or when did you create it? And then the reason why I say this is an important question to ask is this will then differentiate between, is this person really screwed on or not? Because you can be turning over millions of pounds without a CRM, right? But that's not the point, because you're teaching people how to get better. And for you to teach people how to get better, you should be an outlier within your industry, which means you should have been putting things in place relatively quick if you're really on the ball. And for example, for myself, is I had a CRM within 6 months of actually starting my business, fully automated, SMS, emails, absolutely everything, integrated calendars. I can offer that service as an additional extra to the people that I teach. And why I say it's important to find out why or how quick they got that in place is because then that's going to tell you how switched on they are. Because you shouldn't be waiting until you're turning over millions to finally get a CRM. That should not be something that you publicly say too much, because it's actually not working in your favor, because you were supposed to have this from the start, in my opinion. Same with systems and templates, sales as well. The only thing which I think stops a mentor from taking you, level 1, level 2 to, like, I would say the level 3 mentor, I would say, is marketing. I'm sorry to say, but any trades business owner that says he's a genius in marketing, I genuinely believe, that's big cap, in my opinion. Because you can't be an expert in marketing. You might know an expert in marketing, that's totally different. But when people sit there and say, yeah, I've got a whole office of people that do this, you need to really understand, like, what are you trying to peddle here? Are you trying to peddle that you are a successful construction entrepreneur or a successful marketing entrepreneur? And I do believe they're totally separate things, until I'm obviously proven otherwise. But yeah, I would say that's the biggest difference. So I hope that was of help to anyone that's watching this. If you managed to get to the end of this, I think that's great. And I also want to add, why damp proofing? Because of the fact you don't need wealthy connections, family in the industry, a massive social following, and mainstream media exposure. That is the reason why I'm saying get into damp proofing. Not only that, is I've built a business and I've been running it for a few years now, so I've understood and I understand where I've made mistakes. And the place that I have made major mistakes is picking a good mentor, because I've gone through all of these stages and we're still growing, we're still figuring out ways, but at least I can curate a path for a possible student or mentee to do the exact same or get to a similar position as me, which I'd say is a good position in my opinion. But yeah, I hope that was useful, and give me a follow, like it if you liked it, and thank you for actually getting so far into this video. I hope that you found some sort of intelligence from what I've been saying, and yeah, follow for more, and we'll keep doing more content.